Comment ça va?
Ça va très bien. Ce matin, I was a little rocky.
Why?
Parce que I didn't go to bed until 3. Talking about the Dupieux, the amazing film.
Vous êtes allé à la fête après?
Oh, we had such a great discussion about it. It's fantastic.
Well, let's start with that. Let's start by yesterday. And when you got the Palme d'Or, it was a beautiful moment. It's a very simple question to start with. What was the feeling? What did you feel at this moment when you got the prize, when Juliette gave it to you?
I felt just a wave of feeling coming from the audience, and it's so much bigger than I thought. So many tears of people all the way up to the top. Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot. I live a very quiet life, and really I don't get any respect at home. It's sort of amazing to come into this arena and have that big tidal wave. Yeah.
And I love the moment with Juliette, and I love what she said about you and about your work. And I know you're a cinephile. I know you know your movies, but I wonder, what is your relationship to French cinema? I know you know most of it.
Well, I mean, I'm ashamed to say that in this now. It used to be that there were a certain number of films that you had to see in the time between Christmas and January 1st or something, or Thanksgiving. All the serious great films came out. So foreign films and all the films that were going to be nominated. So in order to do this with some authority, you had to look at enormous numbers of films. And also, I'm so old that I've worked with absolutely everyone. And I'm going to run into them, and if I haven't seen their film, I'm an asshole. So I just, in answer to your question, I haven't seen enough films. And I also have 4 children who are grown, but that it never ends. And also I have 5 grandchildren. So I don't sit and watch enough movies. It's a crowded life, but I signed up for that, and that's what I have. So no, I haven't watched a lot of movies, but I did watch Camille Cottin in every single episode of 10%. And Juliette's films, and I seek out films of people that mostly actresses, because I fall in love with them, with actors, actresses, and with their work. But there's only finite number of hours in the day.
And for you, it was A Cry in the Dark, Evil Angels, as they called it in the US. Very simply, what kind of memory do you keep from this year in Cannes, the year you won your acting prize?
When I came to Cannes the first time, they said, you will need 9 bodyguards. I said, I don't even need 1 bodyguard. Believe me, I don't need 1. I don't have a bodyguard. I don't know, how to have in home, I never have a bodyguard. They said, you will need 9 bodyguards. I needed maybe a dozen the first time I came here, because in the olden days, I don't know, there wasn't the same security, so all the barriers weren't there, and people would just, the cameras were shoved up like this, It was insane, and I almost didn't recover from that. I went to the hotel room, and it was like this. And I couldn't believe how wild it was. So that was 35 years ago. It's changed a lot. The world has changed a lot. So that's what I remember about it, really. The moment of getting the prize. I don't think I remembered it.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I was so afraid. I mean, you have to realize
You were afraid?
I was afraid, yeah. Like
why?
physically, because I don't know. I'm not a rock star. I don't.
Yes, you are.
No, I don't have a very boring life. I mean, not boring, but filled with things that are not hyperbolic like that. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go back in the career. We won't do movie by movie. It's
okay.
I don't. Artists don't like that. But I'm gonna start with Kramer. Kramer versus Kramer. It's your first Oscar, but I read that the speech, the part at the end where you testify, you rewrote that with Robert Benton, or you're asking to rewrite it. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you changed her character, how you make her more human than she was originally?
So, Kramer versus Kramer, for everybody under 70, is a movie about...
I'm pretty sure everybody saw Kramer versus Kramer here.
It's about a divorce, and it's about... it was based on a novel by a man named Avery Corman, and it was sort of a revenge novel. I think he wrote it out of real anger. It was the beginnings of the women's movement that didn't make everyone happy. And so there was a lot of vitriol about these women stepping out of the role that is prescribed and leaving this poor man to raise his child. And in the novel, it's quite opaque why she leaves. I think he wasn't... I'm not saying anything I hadn't said to him. I don't think he was interested in why she left. He was really interested in... he was really interested in the father's dilemma. How could he possibly raise this boy and keep his job? And he barely knew how to be with a 4-year-old. So that was interesting in and of itself. So in the film, when Robert Benton took it and worked on the screenplay, he was the director as well. He said, so in the beginning they break up, she leaves, and most of the movie is about Dustin Hoffman coming to be so close to his little boy in a way that he had never been. And then the mother comes back and sues for custody. She comes back after 18 months of being away. So Benton said, "Why did she go?" And Dustin said, "I know." And I said, "Oh, tell me why." And so we all had this big discussion about why. And he said, "Well, I need this speech for the courtroom. I need her to because it's such a mystery." So we all went into our dressing rooms, and Dustin wrote his version of my speech, and Benton wrote his version, and I wrote mine. And then we voted, and I won.
I remember this time, and I remember that Kramer versus Kramer was more than a movie. I mean, it was really part of the discussion in the US and in Europe on divorce and kids and how to raise kids after a divorce. It has become some kind of a social, I don't want to say phenomenon, it would be too big, but it was part of the conversation. You're a pretty young actress at the time. Did that tell you what a movie could be more than just a movie? Was that the moment you realized that it can also be part of the discussion?
I think every movie made is made of its moment. I think even if it's set in another time, it is made of its moment. Whatever made, or it's made to make money. So that's another thing. But the films, the serious films, the passion projects, and the ones that are maybe difficult to finance because people aren't sure, those ones, I think they're of their time. Even the stupid ones are of their time. Just the pure entertainments are of their time. They're avoiding something, or they're taking us away from something that's dire in a good way. The comedies and the silly things. So I think everything speaks to its time. But Kramer absolutely met its moment in feminism, in the backlash to feminism, and the bumpy road that leads us here even today. Yeah.
So you got your Oscar, your first Oscar for Kramer. Mm-hmm. Is it true that you almost left the room without your Oscar this night? I read that you left it somewhere.
It's probably true.
I read that you left it in the restroom.
Yes, I did. I did leave it in the restroom. It was a very big dress, and I had to lift it up and put the thing down, and then forgot that it was underneath there. And yes, but someone found it. The next person in.
You didn't take it.
Yeah.
I think I'm like most of the people in this room. Cinephiles, we love to go back to movies that are very important for us. There's some movies I have to watch at least once a year to remind me why I love movies. One of them is, of course, The Deer Hunter. It's more than an important movie, it's an essential movie. Did you realize it when you were making it?
No. I didn't think about that. I didn't. I just thought about my job was in the human scale, in the family side, the very limited view of a small town girl. And I'm a small town girl from New Jersey. My town had a number of boys that went to Vietnam right out of high school and never came back. My boyfriend went to Vietnam and came back. He was a medic, came back a heroin addict, and it had a profound effect on many people's lives. And so I was familiar with the effect, the emotional, personal, microcosmic effect of this story. And the larger part, the Vietnam adventure when the boys went off and shot that part, I didn't have anything to say about it. But again, this is the same thing. It's just so interesting. It never occurred to me until this moment that Michael Cimino said, I don't know what she says, this girl. So, what do you think she says when she's in the supermarket? So they let me write my part. That they don't always let me write my own part. Those two early movies, yeah, they did.
And that's the thing, it's not the only one where you're not in the entire movie. This one with the beginning and the ending, and it's probably like 20-25 minutes of presence in the film. But when we remember the film, it feels like you're in all of it. You are the reason why those young people want to come back. You are the reason, the anchor that brings them back home and that they're fighting for. How does that happen? Kramer is the same. You're only like 10-12 minutes in the film and it feels like you're always there. How do you work on that? Do you do that on purpose? Are you this good?
No, but that's the day. Those were the days when there was only one woman in the movie. So we remember her. We remember her hair. I don't know.
Also, Deer Hunter, the first time you're singing in a film, when you sing God Bless America at the end, remember? Is it?
Oh yeah.
Am I correct? Yeah.
Everybody sang. Everybody sang.
Yeah, but you started singing. And after that, there were plenty of. You are formed as a singer when you were a kid. You sang in a lot of movies, Postcard from the Age, Prairie and Companion, The Prom, Into the Woods, and even badly in Florence Foster Jenkins. Do you like that? Is it something that kind of liberates you when you sing in a movie?
I think I love to sing, and when I was a kid, I thought, I took opera lessons. I had a coloratura voice, and then I started in high school cheerleading and smoking. Those two things kind of ruined it. But I didn't really like opera anyway, so I like rock and roll and Joni Mitchell and things like that. So but I love music, and I think music and I think singing is a direct line to your heart. I think it's just, in drama school, one of the greatest teachers I had was the singing teacher, because she would make the whole class. She said, this term, all of you, she addressed 12 of us in our class, she said, all of you will get up and sing in front of the class. You'll sing something that means something to you, and you will make us cry. And the boys said, yeah, they'll die laughing. And she said, no, you're going to do it. And they said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I don't sing, But she said, no, when you sing, you open something. It's a direct line. Your head isn't involved. It's just the melody and the sentiment. And she was right. Every one of those guys got up and sang something. One sang to his, oh my mama, to me you are so beautiful. It was fantastic. It was a great lesson. I sang It's Lonely at the Top, Randy Newman. I did. Wow. That's weird. I meant it ironically, because I was broke and everything.
All right. Now I know I'm going to get some applause. 1982, Sophie's Choice. I read something that is really hard to believe. I mean, we all remember the scene of the choice, which is talking about it, of course, but I read that you did it in one take. Is it true? It's a very first of all, what you do is unbelievable, but it's a very complicated scene. There is tons of people, there is a train behind it, there is a smoke, and you did that in one? Is it true?
No. No, they did. There were two takes.
Okay, I wasn't far.
But the one in the film is the first one. No, the one in the film is the second one. Because the first one, the little girl didn't know what was coming. And so she looked at this man, and she had no reaction when she went off. Second take, she knew what was coming. She knew he was going to grab her and take her away. And so it's the child's reaction. It's the child's reaction that is what's heartbreaking in the choice. And yes, she's a wonderful little girl. I think she works in Paris. She has a very important job somewhere. Yes, I read that. A businesswoman or a lawyer or something. Yeah.
I love that you're talking about other people. This scene is unbelievable, madame. This is a great moment of cinema, and you're at the center of it. And I'm going to insist and ask you, what was your feeling at this moment? Yours.
What I felt, I couldn't. I mean, I had to do that part in speaking German, so I learned the German. But I read I only read the scene once. It went into my head, and I couldn't even read it. It upset me so much. So I don't think we even rehearsed it. Alan Pakula knew exactly, and Nestor Almendros, the great cinematographer, they knew exactly where they wanted to be with the camera. I had no awareness of all that. But wonderful actor was my partner, and we just did it a couple of times. I don't know. It was upsetting. Yeah, I don't like to think about it.
You went through a very classical training. I mean, Façonner, Yale, and theater, a lot of theaters. So I wonder how much this classical basis that you got there helps you going through this kind of thing, not this one, but another one. I wonder how does that help you? Did that help you through the career when you had this kind of very heavy moments to play?
Nothing helps you. You feel at sea when you have a scene like this.
Really?
Yeah, because in a way that's valuable, to want to be blank, to not think about anything, and for me, not to. I have a technique that goes from part to part. My education in drama school had 3 different distinct approaches. Each year they would hire an acting teacher, and then they'd fire him, and then somebody else come in and he'd have a different method. And they'd fire him, and then the 3rd year you have another guy. And so we had a grab bag education, and that's valuable because I have different pockets. Different pockets to go into. But really, in those scenes, in the scenes that are heightened, I feel like I'm starting fresh. And I used to say to my husband the night before, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do this. He said, yeah, you always say that. I say, I've never felt this way before. Never. And I think there's something wrong with the script. It's always that. But it's just because you dismantle yourself in a certain way. You dismantle everything so that you can come raw. No protection. And where you need craft is in a 17-hour day. And you're getting out of a car for the 58th time saying, what are you doing here? And it's not the right way for the director. That's when you need craft, because you have to stop yourself from killing him. It's repetition that's difficult, but I don't know. What a terrible answer.
That was pretty good. Okay. Since we're talking about craft, I know you don't like this question, so I'm going into deep now. You are the best in the world in accent. It's unbelievable what you can do with accent, whether it's a British one, whether it's a Polish one, whether it's... you've done them all. So the question is pretty simple. I know there's a lot of acting students in the room. So what would be your advice to them in terms of accent? And the second part of the question is, do you use the accent as kind of a mask to protect you from the characters?
No, because if I had played women from central New Jersey all my life, I wouldn't be in this room. I really wouldn't.
Pretty good movies with Jersey people.
No, I mean, it's a way of expanding the palette, and everybody's different. I have some friends who are just fantastic actors who depend on a coach there, and I have worked with a dialogue coach once, and Dancing at Lunasa. I found it difficult because I'd made an Australian film, and I'd done that on my own, and that kept creeping into, because it's very similar, a lot of the stuff, to the Northern Ireland thing. So I had a coach, and I I found it just completely discombobulating because he would sit on the set, and this is what they do. I could be performing over there, I could feel that. I could feel the disapproval and then all I think about was what word was it on, which word? And it's terrible. I mean, I couldn't do it. I have friends who depend on that kind of coach. Everybody's different. For me, it's easier, you know. I can't speak French, I have a great accent. No, I'm not great, you know, I'm not. But I have an accent, I can pick up things. If the operator on the telephone in the old days when you had a home telephone and my children would be, I'd answer the phone and my kids would say, Mom, is the operator from India? You're talking in an Indian accent to them. And that's what I do, I pick it up, you know. So it's not a difficult thing, but it certainly is, expands the chances to play different women because I'm interested in people that are not like me. I'm really interested in, because I think as much as they are apparently not like me, they're like me. You know, because we're all much more alike than we want to think.
That's something that I really appreciate in the character, that there's always something. There's always, I don't know if it's a gesture or a posture. I mean, Silkwood, for example, she has a way of handling herself that is very particular. In Pentagon Papers, the Post, Steven Spielberg movies, there's one moment where you take the phone and take off your hearing, and this is like, well, she's an important woman. We got something here. Do you add that, or do you follow the instruction of the directors? I mean, in the case of the Spielberg movie, for example, in Silkwood, Mike Nichols, do you follow what they say, or do you tell them maybe she should be handling herself like this? I mean, Silkwood is very relaxed.
No, I mean, I didn't even think Mike Nichols directed me in Silkwood. I thought I did it all myself. But he was an amazing, he came at it always obliquely. And I don't even know quite how he did it. He would always be joking on set and say something funny, but it had a point to it that probably applied to the scene you were going to shoot. I mean, he was so brilliant, and it gave actors the confidence to try anything. And the best thing that he did was he would sit right by the camera, and if he was laughing, tears would just pour down his face. It was so disarming and probably strategic, you know, because it made us feel powerful and wonderful, and anything we did was terrific. So, and he knew he could get rid of anything he didn't want in the editing. But the actors were empowered to feel wonderful. And everybody that I know that has worked with him felt the same way. He was a great director.
Spielberg?
And Spielberg he's a genius. And he has such an understanding of the mise en scène, the whole thing. Right. Mike was interested in the interactions, in the actors, but Spielberg is all about the whole movement of the whole piece. I think Mike did that later with Sam Osteen, his editor, often in the editing room. He'd make the music afterwards. But Steven has a song in his head already. Yeah.
What I know about you, what I learned about you preparing for that, is that you're a trooper. I mean, on Out of Africa. That would be a lot like that. In Out of Africa, I read that during the scene when Karen arrived in the farm, she's walking down, there's a voiceover, and the scene's pretty long, and you did the scene, but you had something in your...
Oh, yeah.
Can you finish the story, please?
Yeah, it was a nighttime scene, and it was early on in the shoot. And we had the big lights, which attract everything, bats, insects, and everything. And we did the long shot. I got out of the thing, and I had a very thin, white lisle, I don't know how you say it in French, blouse on. And very early on, action. I got out of the thing, I climbed down. I felt a thing, maybe this big, go in the back of my collar and make its way down my back. I could feel it. I didn't know it was going to bite me. I didn't know. But it had taken so long to set this thing up with all the people, and it was late, and everybody wanted to go to bed, and I didn't do it. At the end, I said to Roy, "There's something in there!" And he went, and he smacked me, and then we brought it out, lifted it up, and it was this bug as big as my hand.
But you finished the scene.
And it didn't bite me, so I shouldn't have killed it. Yeah.
There's so many things that we remember from Out of Africa.
Yeah.
Whether it's music, whether it's you guys with Bob Redford, whether it's also probably the most remembered shampoo scene ever. How was that this day?
There's another scene where Roy Helland, my hair and makeup man. So Redford is meant to wash my hair in this river, and we had been told one thing to be aware of. Two things are dangerous. We had lions, but they were imported from California, and they were supposedly fine, tame. They were not. And the second thing we were told is the animal that kills the most men, most people in Africa is the hippopotamus. If you get between the hippopotamus and the water, they'll charge you, and they have, jaws that big. So we were shooting in the river, and the hippopotamuses were right above it. I don't know if they show that in the movie, I can't remember, but I was aware of it. And Redford was washing my hair like this. Pardon. Wasn't good. Wasn't sexy.
I will never forget.
So Roy comes up, my hair and makeup man, and he said, Bob, you go like this. And he said, like this, which is the best part of my day when he does that at the end of the... And so Redford took the lesson, and he just really got into it, and he was great. By take 5, I was like so in love. And it is such a tender... it's a scene, it's a sex scene in a way, because it's so intimate, and we've seen so many scenes of people fucking, but we don't see that loving touch, that care, It was gorgeous. I didn't want it to end that day, even in spite of the hippos. And it was great, really fun.
When you do Out of Africa, you already have 2 Oscars, you have a career, but the movie will bring you something that you didn't have before. It's a worldwide triumph. The movie made something like $230 million in the box office, which would be today 7 million, I did the calculation, and 700.
Which film?
Out of Africa.
Oh yeah.
So you became, forgive me for the ugly word, bankable. Did that change anything for you at the time?
Probably, but I didn't. I wasn't aware of it, honestly. I think my agent was very aware of it, but I was not so aware of it. I didn't pay attention that closely. I just would fall in love with stories, and it didn't matter I wasn't aiming for a blockbuster ever, really. And so the ones that ended up being blockbusters, Mamma Mia, Devil Wears Prada, I was 58 and 60 years old when those, and I never thought they were going to be anything except fun and, sort of a little thing in there. But no, I didn't know they were going to be big, but I knew I could get them made. Yeah.
There's a bunch of beautiful romance story in your filmography, South Africa, Bridges of Madison County, and others. But what I love is that the women character, the woman you play, is not at all in the rules of the romantic story. I mean, Karen Blixen is not, the Italian lady in Bridges is not. Is that why you wanted to play this role, or is that coming from you, the fact that they are not at all like what we used to see in the romance story?
I don't even know how to answer that. I mean, I'm not sure what we usually think of as a romance story.
Love story.
A love story. I thought they were love stories. Yeah.
But different.
But different, yeah. I don't know. Sorry, Didier, I didn't understand the question, I don't think.
That's okay, no problem. What I mean is that the character that you're playing is not at all in the standards of the genre. It's not at all like other female character in this kind of stories. Do you see that?
Okay, yeah, I get it. Yeah, because I get it. Yeah. Because
Thank you.
because the woman had an occupation other than the man. So the occupation in Out of Africa was she was a wonderful writer, and she was trying to survive on a coffee plantation and keep everybody alive. I mean, I don't, and so she had another life, maybe, other than him.
I think that Bridges of Madison County is a very important movie for a lot of people here. Very, very simply, the memories of shooting the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic to work with Clint Eastwood. I mean, great auteur. Also, he made that film in 5 weeks because he got out at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock, so that he could be on the golf course. That was very important to him. So he shot quickly. He would sometimes rehearse on camera and say, "Okay, let's move on." He'd take the rehearsal. That was in the movie. And so
And you didn't know it?
his crew was like, they were so en point. They were really, really ready to go. They knew that this is the way he worked. Boy, and he never raised his voice except once when somebody was talking outside and we were in the kitchen having a big scene and he could hear them. He opened his mouth and he made a sound. It was so loud. No one has ever heard him make that sound, and it really shook everybody for the rest of the day. But yeah, it was great. It was wonderful to work that way.
You have always been outspoken about the inequality in salary between male actor and female actors. You were pretty outspoken in the 90s, and then since then you're always talking about that and you're always fighting for that. It's been 30 years and it hasn't changed. How do you explain that? There is some progress. There is some progress.
Oh my God, there's so many big female stars. Biggest stars in the world are, women right now. In terms of, although Tom Cruise probably, so, way over, over the top. But you know, it's a lot different than when I started. When I started, I think there was, I don't know in how they made the deals. I think there was a lot of leveraging and trading of, you know, I'll give you this big male star if you, I'm not sure how it all worked, but I think it was, we were undercut, women, in those negotiations. But now I think they understand that it's still kind of, movies are a projection of people's dreams. Even executives have dreams. Even movie executives who are making a green light thing. They're living their fantasy. And so it's very hard. Before there were women in green light positions at studios, it was very hard for men to see themselves in a female protagonist. It was not difficult for the women executives to see themselves in a male protagonist, but the hardest thing, I've said this 150,000 times, is that the hardest thing is for a male to live through the female in a movie who's the lead. And I think that's what inhibited. It was a personal thing. You know, everything, it's not always just about money. It's just that they just didn't get it. You know, they didn't get the first movie I've ever made where a man came up to me afterwards and said, "I know how you felt," was Devil Wears Prada. and it was more than one man came and said, "I know how you felt. I know what it's like to be the one to take the decisions. And nobody understands you, you know?" And that was fascinating to me. But no man watches The Deer Hunter and feels like the girl, you know? But I can watch The Deer Hunter and identify with John Savage, Chris Walken's character, De Niro. It's like we can do that. We speak that language, but it's very hard for them to feel us. Or, do you know what I mean? Yeah, okay.
I want to keep going on this. And in the 90s, you were pretty much, you were outspoken about Pretty Woman, and you were not very happy that the only movie with a female star, which was a huge success, is the female star is a prostitute. Do you feel that nowadays a role given to women in Hollywood are better, are much representative of what they are in the real world?
Oh my God, the roles are wonderful now, I think, for women. And so many women are producing for themselves and have, you know, I'm so in awe of the ones who've done that. Reese and Nicole and everybody seems to, Natalie Portman, everybody has their own production company. And I had a production company, you know, of babies, and that's what I produced, but I didn't ever want to get phone calls after 7 o'clock at night. So I didn't ever do that. I don't know, I'm in awe of the people that can. Again, there's just so many hours in the day, and I just, yeah.
But you gave some of your time to the Time's Up movement.
What?
You gave some of your time to the Time's Up movement, and you were pretty much involved.
Yeah.
It has changed things.
The Time's Up movement was what was it, like 2017 maybe?
17.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, yeah, past history now, but I think it did change things in not just Hollywood, but in the service industry, in hotel and for waitresses, for hotel service workers, for, you know, lots of love. It had a filter round effect in business. The same shenanigans still go on, but they're a little bit afraid. But it's like, it has made a little correction in things, and in places, I'm sure, went overboard, and in other places, appropriately identified real abuse. And so that's good.
I think I can talk for everybody in the room when I say that you are fantastic in Iron Lady. And but what I'm wondering is, we know that your political convictions are totally different than the one of Margaret Thatcher. Is it really difficult to play a character that really doesn't think like you do?
So for Margaret Thatcher, there was a lot that was interesting about her. I found it was fascinating. The film really was. The film was like Lear in a way. It was like interested in the end of power, in the diminution, in the humbling of great power. And it's a thing that isn't really feminine or masculine. It's just when people decline. What is that like? I mean, it's just the beautiful leveling of time, the reckoning of age, and so that's where we were with it. Looking back on the confusion of it, that was interesting to me. Her politics, that's a film still to be made about her rise and how it happened and why the things came together the way they did. Yeah, her friendship with Reagan and everything. But that wasn't what we were doing.
And this movie allowed your makeup artist that you talked about yesterday to get an Oscar, and that must have been wonderful, was it?
Yes, it was. It was fascinating, and I loved the opportunity to. When I was a little girl, I remember I was like 8, and my mother had an eyebrow pencil, and I liked to draw. So I drew on my face all the lines. I was fascinated with my grandmother, who was in her 80s, and I drew all the lines on my face that were like hers. And I took a picture, and my mother took a little black and white picture, and it looks like me now. And it was really, because I've always been interested, my grandmother said to me, I'm just like you. In my mind, I can do a cartwheel, I can roll around on the floor. And I thought, my grandmother is like me? That I'm like her? So it always as a child interested in me. The circle of who we are incipiently inside us, and then what we become. All that. So doing that old age makeup in Iron Lady and feeling that and feeling it just it was very satisfying artistically to meet that again.
Very recently you played another woman of power. You played the President of the United States in Don't Look Up. I wonder how much it was inspired by the worst president of the United States that we ever had.
Well, it was really
great, by the way.
Thank you. That film was, I think Adam McKay, he's an amazing filmmaker, and he's so funny, and he's intent on delivering sort of a lethal method with a joke, message through a joke. And he did a great job. But these preposterous characters that I wasn't imitating any one president, but I was taking off a lot of the way a lot of women present on TV in the United States, the bright colors, the the barrel curls and the, yeah. I thought, I don't know, why not?
I have a question regarding the difficulties. I wonder, you played all kind of characters. I wonder if there's a level of difficulty that is different for you, if it's a period piece, if it's like French Lieutenant or Iron Lady, or if it's a very specific character like the nun in Doubt, or the one in Lemony Snicket, if you want, or if it's more like a normal character, down to earth character like Steve Wood, if you want. What is the most difficult for you? If you have to dress up, if you have to go to another time, is it easier? Does that facilitate the job? Is that something that you, or is it more difficult if you just yourself?
I'm dressing up all the time. So, you know, to decide what to wear. We all decide every morning who we're going to be. You put on whether you want to fit in, whether you want to stand out. You know, it's all those, every little decision, which shoe, which jacket. I remember when we made Falling in Love. This is not a costume drama, but I remember the what do they call them? The tests, the costume tests, and De Niro had 32 little chino jackets, and he put each one on, and he checked the sleeve, he checked the collar, and 32 jackets, because each decision is defining a person. So, you know, you decided on the black tie today. You know, it's a decision. No, I decided very conservative, you know, very, also hangover. So, I can't do anything too tough. But, yeah.
How about the less realistic the character is? Does that help you? Does that liberate you? Does that make things different?
Yeah, well, there are some outsized characters, like Death Becomes Her, that character is so very silly. But that's like doing a movie in drag for me. You know, it's like being that uber feminine, whatever that is. That's now the way people dress in in Florida. It's like it's a way of defining a person and having fun. I don't know. I don't think of them as realistic or unrealistic. I think they're just doing their best. You know, they're just trying to live.
I want to talk of another Mike Nichols movie, Postcard from the Edge. It's a beautiful movie. It's a funny movie. It's smart. It's very well played, very well written. I know that you develop a big friendship with Carrie Fisher on doing this movie. So much. This is let's talk a little bit about when she asked you to play her. How was the relationship between you when you have to play someone who's on the set every day?
Yeah, well, Mike Nichols called us the Gang of Two. You know, like Mao's Gang of Four. So we were the Gang of Two, and he was a little bit put off, I think, by our bonding, because she was the writer and I was the actress and he was the boss. But she was a fantastic presence, my God. Wild and so sharp and so funny. I really miss her, but I don't know. I didn't think really that I was playing her. It's just like on Heartburn when Nora Ephron, I played her, and I didn't think about really her judging me or an adaptation when I played Susan Orlean and she was on set. I didn't think about that. because I just believed I was me. I was just me. And I didn't sit outside and worry about the other thing. You know, the script is there, the other actor's there. The scene doesn't happen until you look into the other actor's eyes and you get everything there. So, I don't know. I didn't think about it that way.
The movie is also a comedy, not only, but also a comedy, and you've done a lot of comedies. I mean, since She Devil, I think in 1997, you've been doing a lot of them. Is it different for you, like it?
Is it difficult? Is that what you said? Different. Yeah. But I don't, as I say, I don't have a production company, so I've always been dependent on whatever script comes in the door. I don't know if it's going to be a funny one or a very serious one, or I never know what's coming, and I like that. I like sort of the serendipity. I don't develop things. I don't buy books. And although I think I just did recently something that's in development, but usually I haven't done that because, again, my family life took up most of that time, so I couldn't. But yeah, no, I don't make a differentiation. It's just human beings. I think the most tragic, there's some things in Sophie's Choice that, you know, it's like Chekhov said, that feeling that everything very tragic. There's something that has a color of, oh my God, even deathly humor. You know, if we don't laugh somewhere. So anyway, I always think that there's something to find and something multi-layered, oh my God, I'm disintegrating, in an understanding of material. Yeah.
Ask you a question that will kind of put you in trouble, and me probably. You work with Mike Nichols, Nancy Meyers, Michael Cimino, Steven Spielberg, Alajin Pakula, Clint Eastwood, Sidney Pollack, Stephen Frears, Greta Gerwig, Jonathan Demme, Steven Soderbergh, etc., etc., etc. You work with the best of the best. What is for you a good director?
A good director is a confident director. That's the most important, I think. Really wants to be there. Really knows what she wants to say, wants to instill confidence in the group. The great directors make it a happy set as well, you know, or make it fun. But that's not necessary. What's necessary is you have the sense that that person really wants to tell this story and that the stakes are high, even in a comedy, that you want to get it right. So this discriminating eye, a demanding eye, and a passionate one.
And what happens when you don't have that? What happens when you're on the set and you don't feel that? What do you do?
I go home, you know, and cook and get up the next day. Everybody's exhausted. Look, they're leaving. No. It's okay. I'm the same.
One very last thing. Even in your career, there were up and downs. It's a career of everybody, even as you did. But for the kids who are starting in their acting career, who are in the room now, the students, what would be your advice to tell them when the career is not great and when everything is a little down? What would you tell them to?
Just keep hope alive, because it just takes one. Just takes the first one, and if it lands, if you get a good job and it lands, it will lead to the next one. I mean, that's the way things happen. I think, just don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give up.
Mesdames et messieurs, Meryl Streep.